Welcome everybody on today's Expert Talks episode. On today's episode, we're going to be diving into a subject that I am particularly passionate about. I think it's a subject that as a leader, as a business person, as a human being, you will never, ever become an expert in. However, the pursuit of excellence is what got our guest here. He is very close to the top, and we can all learn from each other. We can all share each other's mistakes and perhaps give each other a different point of view on certain things that changes the trajectory of our leadership skills. And on today's episode, Mr. Steven Levy from Dear2Be Coaching and beyond. Welcome, sir. Thank you for agreeing, and I'm excited to share this moment with you.
It really is a privilege, and I mean that. I'm not just saying it.
Thank you very much, sir. What is the meaning of leadership to you?
Leadership for me is it's really about how we influence and impact the people's lives that we're leading, okay, both personally and professionally. So how do we create that environment where they can operate at their best or close to that, and where we can optimize, and our human capital. I don't like to refer it to as resource, because they're not resource.
Does it mean a leader can be trained in passion, compassion, emotional status?
I think it's a good question, because not all leaders are empathetic.
And I think you need it, because that's maybe my style, but is it something you need?
You know, Anna-Marie, I think in leadership, we need to be very clear about who we are. So I'm stepping away from, my leadership style. I'm an autocratic leader, I'm a compassionate leader. You hear about servant leadership and so on. Where do we naturally lead from? So, Anna-Marie, you told me you're in finance. So you might be a very analytical person, a place that you really step into. You might be very strategic. Bobby might be very much leans into relationship building. He might be very empathetic. He might be very around people. You get leaders that might be strong executors or influencers. So I think it's important for the leader to understand where do they naturally lead from, because then you can really show up authentically. And if you naturally lead from a space or step into a space of, for example, let's put it in a domain of strategic thinking. It doesn't mean that you cannot have empathy for the people that you're working for. And it's not where you naturally step into.
It starts from you need to understand yourself.
Correct.
To build it.
Yeah, and then show up as how you are. And then it comes to communicating. How do you communicate to them as a leader? And I always say, we work together and we know each other. Do we really understand each other?
And that's the question.
Yeah. And sorry if I may, just does leadership, and I think this is one of the big responsibilities of leadership, because what's it about people? And do we put in enough time to understand each other? The same from our team back here, but who's going to create that? Leaders are going to create that.
That is almost the biggest and the most difficult thing, to get everyone to understand that that's that personality and this is this personality. And you can't expect from this person to be a butterfly if she's not a butterfly.
100%.
You've got a saying to say, a monkey can climb a tree and this is a snake, so you can't expect from that person to climb that tree.
Or fish.
Fish. That's
fish
what
can't
you
climb
use.
trees. Fish swims. But I think a big part of leadership for me is understanding what drives that person. Yeah. And I read somewhere, beautiful thing. This person has got this beautiful big basket of strawberries, and he went fishing. He didn't catch any fish because fish like worms, not strawberries. So understanding what motivates people and drives people is superior to anything else that I've learned in terms of leadership, because if I know what drives you, it's easy to drive you. If I don't know what drives you and I'm imposing what drives me onto you, we're going to have a problem. We're going to constantly clash and beat heads. And I want to dive into your perspective on the difference between a manager and a leader. What is the difference to you?
Okay, I think a leader asks and a manager tells.
Okay.
Okay, and it covers quite a bit.
Yes.
And I think it touches on
But it
exactly
makes
what
sense,
you were
sweet
saying.
and
Yes.
short.
Because you're in a position, and when you step into leadership or management, you are naturally in a position of authority, and everybody knows that. So I can tell people what to do, and they'll listen to me
Wow.
because I have the authority to. If I want people to buy in to what I'm doing and take responsibility for what they're doing, maybe I should ask them. And I'll tell you why. When you know, it's very powerful. If you ask somebody, how can I support you? And that's coming back to you ask me what I think a leader is. You know, it's someone who influences, is there to provide guidance and support. Is if I ask you, how can I support you? And you tell me, it gives the leader a very quick way of assessing the person's thinking, understanding them, where they're coming from. Okay? And when you do that and they answer you, and you're able to provide the support that they need, you automatically transfer ownership because it comes from them, not from you. The one big thing that stands out is the ability to listen.
The ability to listen.
Yeah.
Makes
It's something that's a
sense.
common thread amongst those leaders who are good leaders or influential leaders, and they get their people really to be included in and to take responsibility and be accountable, because once the leader if they listen to them, they give them what they can give them, because you can't, if I ask for support, I can't give you everything you want, but I understand how I can support you. And I think coming back to what Anna-Marie said earlier is, if Anna-Marie is naturally analytical or strategic, generally we're unconscious of that because it comes naturally to her and it's easy for her. So the danger behind that is I have an expectation that it comes easily to others. And that's where it comes
Nice
back to
point. I like the
Yes.
point,
Yeah.
yes.
People.
So we need to listen and then hear where are they coming from. And you'll quickly understand where do they naturally lead in just by listening to them.
I believe that if you listen, you also need to act. I can't, as you say, I can't always provide what you want.
Yeah.
But you need to act. You can't just listen and just do nothing about it, because then people lose trust in you and faith in you. And that's what you need to build. So if they say something, we don't make notes about it, but that's how you get to know them. And I know a lot of times you fail because life gets busy. And that is very difficult to do it. But again, coming back to say a manager tells a leader, listen.
Yeah. Or asks
And
listen.
ask. But they need to listen, and that is very important. I always explain to my staff that life will always test. For 12 years at school, you will write a test, but thereafter, you're going to get a leader or a manager, a leader in a management position, ask you something. Your response, because I love the fact training people into becoming their own leader. So not all people can become a leader, but I can train you to lead your own life. So always be aware of the fact that if you get asked a task or in a conversation, business conversation, it's a test.
Yeah.
It's the test for you where you're going to end up in 5 years. And sometimes I think maybe I'm just too harsh. Maybe I'm too strict. And I know both of us can be very strict.
I'm not strict at all.
Not?
No.
No.
On Sundays.
He's
Sundays,
not
I'm not
strict on Sundays.
Let me,
But
let
But
me
I
ask you.
wanted, can I just say something to you on that? I think there's a fine line between being strict and assertive. So you might be seen as strict, but are you assertive to what, for example, Mid-Mac Motors have certain standards that they aspire that are not negotiable? Because that's what makes Mid-Mac Motors like it is. Again, a successful company, and it's...
So all the blaming?
No, but we have certain, and are we able, do we live that? And if you as a leader are going to lower your standards or be negotiable on these things that are not negotiable, you won't aspire to achieve the excellence that you're looking to.
No, you can't be.
Okay,
so that is maybe
so
strict
maybe you
for
just,
me, and it's assertiveness.
Yeah, it's assertiveness. The people that you're leading might see it as strict until you communicate with them.
Communication.
Why? Yeah, Why am I,
Communication.
exactly, communication is key, and listening is the art of communication.
Okay, well then that is that extra tick under leadership.
Yeah,
It's communication, and that's the art of listening.
managing expectations up front. You're a salesperson, you come in, this is my expectation. You need to hit minimum X. Okay, this is how you do it. I provide you all the information that you need to hit X as your target. If you don't hit the target, we go back and see, was the input enough to create this output? No. Managing expectations is very easy then. It's on you. You haven't put in the work to get the desired result. So we agreed on the result. This is the first time that we're going to have this conversation. If it happens to have it again, then it's a different tone, it's a different conversation. And then the third time it happens, it is what it is. But expecting that person to hit a certain target without giving them the tools that they need to hit the target is where resentment happens. And I think managing expectations up front, and I've gone through this recently, where I like the non-negotiable high standards. Sometimes you oversee things, you're like, I'm not going to pay attention to it now, it seems small. But 1 degree deviation in your standards is 10 degrees in 3 to 6 months. So not lowering the standards, but I love the point that you made. The standards are there, they're not moving. You don't hit the standards, sorry, you're below the standard, below the mark. Unfortunately, there's plenty of other companies you can subscribe to. It's perhaps not one of them. I want to ask you on this. What, in your opinion, makes a successful team? And what is the leader's position in that team? Because different, I've spoken to multi-billionaires, and when you ask them that question, they all differ according to industry. But there's one golden thread, and the leader is a synergist. But what, in your opinion, makes a successful team? And
the role.
What is that leader doing exceptionally well within that team? And it can go for a business team, a sports team, any team.
I think the first thing is that the leader needs to show up as a team member before he shows up, before he or she shows up as a leader. Because if you look at the world today and the way, the pace at which we're experiencing change, and actually, change used to be the only constant. I think there's two now. There's change and uncertainty. They're both becoming constant. So we need to make decisions quickly as leaders. We live in a fast-paced world, and we don't have, I think, the time that we enjoyed maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Very true.
So what makes a good team is a team where everybody contributes to the team, and the leader's role in that is to create that environment. And I'm going to tell you what Dare2Be was born on the back of, okay? And it's very strong for me. And I think it might sum up that leaders, why Dare2Be exists is that leaders need to inspire and create an environment where people respect each other in their differences so that they feel proud and safe to show up as who they are.
Oh, that's true. Because that is my main goal, always used to be. I want my people to feel safe. And you've got a very nice saying to say, I want to be myself in front of my team.
Yeah.
And that's, again, it's safe. It's safety, because you need to feel that you've got trust and honesty, because safe to me is trust and honesty. And you can work with different personalities. I think I've got one of the teams with the most personalities, going from the one end to the other, extreme personalities. And it's difficult because now I make a rest of a management team to work with my team, and they need to understand all these different personalities. So we often find that they said, but I only want to work with this one. Because it's difficult to work with these various personalities. And I think maybe that's also something about a leadership, and not a manager. A leader must be able to work with various personalities and understand them, because you can't change a personality. You're basically born with that.
Born. It's just inherently how we think and behave. So a good leader, coming back to you, Bobby, is in building a cohesive, high-performing team, not just a cohesive team, is that leadership really need to be intentionally committed to growing their people in order to grow their business.
At what stage, in your opinion, because this is something that when accountability comes, because there's pushback, at what stage do you cut ties with the person you're trying to lead? What's your style? I know I've got my style.
Yeah.
What's your style? So, for example, bringing in a salesperson as a cadet, training them to a certain stage, then they have tasks to do. So, in the next 2 weeks, X amount of calls, X amount of apps, X amount of demos, X amount of virtual demos. At what stage are you going to say you need to subscribe to a different? Because this is not a non-profit. This is a profit.
Yeah.
At
It's
what stage do you do it? And perhaps we can have a discussion around that.
Okay, fascinating. So it's at a stage where I pick up that I've given them the support they need to. So you've made very clear
the expectation
what this expectation is 100% clear up front.
Yes.
So if you, Mr. Salesman, now sign up for the position, you understand, you're very clear about it, okay, then you know what you're stepping into, right? And they might not get it straight away, so you don't just cut them off the knees first time, so you give them another chance. What are you struggling with? What are you doing? And so it's asking them questions. How can I support you? Because you don't seem to be achieving what you've signed up for. If it continues, okay, then you're not taking responsibility for what you signed up for, and we can't. Maybe this is not the place for you.
What is more important than for a leader to be looking at, work ethic or actual ability? What's more important to you?
Wow, that's a tough one. I think I'd say work ethic, maybe just above ability.
I agree.
Because you can be highly skilled or you can be highly talented. If you've got a poor work ethic or attitude, okay, the skill counts for nothing. And I'll give you an example because we've just experienced it recently, and I don't come out of an academic world, so sport informed me about leadership, and I took that into my businesses and when I was in the corporate, in leadership positions that I was privileged to be in. And sport taught me a lot about that. And looking at the World Cup, if you've got guys, you've got two top footballers in the world. You've got Ronaldo.
I loved this World Cup final.
Yeah. You've got Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. These guys are highly, highly talented and two of the top footballers in the world. Without their team, they can't do anything. They cannot use their skill and their talent. And they're both naturally talented. I'm sure if I went and practiced next to Ronaldo as much as he did, I still wouldn't be as good as him because I don't have that natural talent. So it's the two combined, the talent and your skill. But if he has a bad attitude, it's not going to make it. Because one thing I learned from my late dad was that you can never be bigger than the game itself.
And the thing is that a team pushes someone with bad bad personality ethics. Yeah. They just tend to push that person away. Because I've found that a couple of times. Most amazing, hard worker, always there. The ability to do the work, but the personality, and maybe I mustn't call it the personality, but work ethic.
The character.
The character.
The work ethic, yeah.
And that's so difficult. And it's hard. We had a bit of a discussion about when to say goodbye to someone. And sometimes your words were, sometimes it's good for them to let go.
I disagree with that. I'm going to challenge you on that.
Okay.
Because, and I'm going to challenge you on that because for the longest time, for the past couple of months, I've also subscribed to that. You know, the person won't you just give up? This is not for you. I think that's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. If you see a person struggling to swim upstream, just send them downstream. That person is, number one, not going to be happy in that position because it's a struggle. They don't want to be there. Everybody around them that they touch is also going to be influenced negatively. So on a book that we're reading this month, Unreasonable Hospitality, you need to create an experience for everybody that you touch. If you're negative, because you are currently doing a job that you have to, not because you want to. If you're negative, you're not going to give an experience to your colleague, to your guest, to your customer. So that person needs to be exited out of the company before they give up. You need to have that conversation, because that person landing up at another company doing what they love, it doesn't matter if it's a different industry or same industry but different culture, that person will be productive and will give great experience to everybody that they touch. It's how strong, in my opinion, the culture of the business is to exit those people, quickly out of the company based on, listen, love what you guys do, I don't subscribe to that. For example, we had an absolute rock star salesperson that won every award for a very, very prestigious luxury brand. Spoke to him, I said, sir, a lot older than me, you're not going to fit into our company. I will, I'm a rock star. I said, you are. You're simply not going to be able to do the numbers that the young people in our company do because of the pace. It's different. He started on Monday, he found me on Saturday. When he found me after hours, I picked up the phone, said, I know why you're calling. I loved every minute. Before he said hello, I loved every minute. He said, the culture is so thick, it's not for me. You were right. I said, cool. I was very proud. One of my proudest phone calls that day. I knew our culture is going in this direction very fast. If you're not going in this direction, you're not going to fit in. So is a leader's job to manage the culture? Is the leader's job to create the culture and let it run? What do you think?
They answered very easily. The leader's job is to create the culture and live it.
And live it. Beautiful. I love the answer. Yeah.
If they don't live it, then you're just putting something on the wall that's meaningless. Like, if you talk, because what defines culture is the values and how we show up in our business.
Yeah.
And I must tell you, I'll give you an experience as recently as yesterday. But before I get to that, if you're going to put the values up on the wall, I say to people, it doesn't make a very nice picture. Then rather put up some, and you're not going to live them. Don't do it just to check the boxes.
Yeah.
Then rather put up a picture. If everybody loves the mountains, at least they get inspired when they're coming to the office in the morning. So coming back to the culture, it was wonderful. One of your drivers picked me up in Johannesburg, and we on the M1, and we're chatting, and I asked him how long's he been at Mitmac, and he said to me, for a year. I said, are you happy there? And he said, yes. I said, what makes you happy? And immediately he said to me, we're like a family. So I said, okay, that's awesome. And he said, I just feel it's my space. And that there was there's power in that message. Just what he said, and I left it at that. And then when I went into your cafe, the Mitmac Cafe, it was wonderful. I spent about an hour and a half or so in there, and I just observed everybody coming in, and there were people, staff of yours, they were chatting about things on the laptop and obviously about business, but I watched how they interacted with the guys that came in, and especially the two guys that run the coffee shop. And immediately, it actually said to me that what the guy said in the car wasn't just what he wanted me to hear, it was the truth. Because you can feel it. So culture is very important. Bobby, I think maybe the discussion that Anna-Marie and I had this morning about letting go was maybe not, it was exactly in line with what you spoke about. It was about somebody, when we develop, because the leader's responsibility is to develop and grow their people. When you develop and grow them, and for example, you see that growth, and now they want to go further, but you might not be able to, within the organization, it might not be the right time for them to get to where they want to. You might not have the position open. So sometimes then we got to let them, we can't stunt their growth. So we might have to let them go however good they are. We don't want to, And I think when they do that, if they're leaving to grow for the right reasons, not because of the culture, but it's just, sorry, you can't offer me what I want, I think it's a compliment to the leadership.
May I challenge you on that?
Yeah.
I think I've got a different perspective on that. As a leader, looking at each and every individual in their position, I need to constantly be thinking about how is Anna-Marie going to grow? What's next for her? So I need to be leading from the front, therefore 2 or 3 moves ahead of her. Okay? Same with, for example, Vince, who's off camera. You know, we started the studio. We're doing the studio. We're doing awesome content.
Yeah.
What is the next natural step for this department, for this team, including me and you? And that's a media agency. So we are about to build a media house, which will then, one part will form a media agency for high quality branded content, specific content, which is going to be his new challenge and our new challenge, because we'll have to fit into that position. So, you know, if a person outgrows the company, it's the leader's fault, in my opinion. It's not, it's nobody else's fault, because that leader didn't see the growth and provide the person with that next opportunity to step into that position. So I believe it's the leader's fault. That's my opinion. If you fail to provide the next platform and they have to go and find it somewhere else, then you failed as a leader, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it.
Sorry.
I think I disagree with you, but we had this discussion before, and we've always disagreed about it. Because I've got 20 salespeople, I can grow them, and if they all want to become managers, good on me. But I can't give them all a management position.
I think you can.
Unfortunately,
I think you can. I think you can. Here's how you do it. If they all aspire to become managers, and we need to have this conversation, okay, 20 of you want to become managers. We only have 5 branches. So in order for us to be able to have 20 managers, we need 20 branches. So how do we get there? Okay. So for the next X amount of months, we are going to have to hit these numbers to be able to open a branch every 5 or 6 months. Therefore, this is how long it will take for everybody to become managers. Okay. Then you'll see who really believes in the culture and the leader. Those people will stay and say, okay, cool. Challenge accepted. But very rarely will you have 20 salespeople that want to become managers at the same time.
I don't think so, but I think coming back to that point, and I hear what you're saying, is if I want to grow, and from a business perspective, you can't provide that growth now for me. Okay, and you say to me, Steven, I take it in, if I look at succession planning, it's something we really need to give a lot of thought to, because succession planning is often left till the 11th hour. So,
in 59th minute.
Yeah. So, but succession planning, good succession planning, is going to take you probably up to about 5 years. So, but I might not, if I don't want to wait that long, then I might say, you know what, the only reason I'm leaving is because I have the opportunity to step into the role that you want to offer me in 3 years' time.
That's the problem. The people don't want to wait that long.
Yeah. So I think
I agree.
Yeah,
yes.
I think there's, I hear what you're saying, and there's a lot of truth in it, because you come back to culture a lot, and culture is powerful in a business.
It can't be copied.
It's the only thing that can't be copied is 100%. Your culture. With enough resource, I can copy your systems if I have it, and I can do that very quickly. But the only thing you need to use your culture.
And culture is, for me, what I've learned recently is it's a factory reset to factory mode. So factory mode for me as a leader is different to what the company has been for the last couple of months. It's going back to the roots, but factory reset is, I know who I am. I just need to stop swimming upstream and surround myself with like-minded people that are also hungry, fired up, constantly want to improve, and competitive. Like the guy across the street, love him to bits, I want to kill him. You know, that's factory reset. And if the person next to me is not competitive, clash.
But if his factory reset is going back to a soft, silent mode, it's not part of your team.
No.
Yeah.
And then that goes back to culture. If the culture is thick and strong, then it will repel what is not subscribing to that culture, and it will attract, you know, like-minded people.
And I think coming back to what you're saying is it's very important that we also understand what is our interpretation of, for example, competitive.
Yes.
Because is your competitive to be number one at all costs, or is your competitive to be the best?
So at all costs is a problem, because all costs is, you know, I'm very anti all costs.
Yeah.
All costs could mean at the cost of my happiness with my family and my team's happiness. That's not a cost that anyone should ever consider paying. But being competitive in the realm of, I'm going to be the best version of me and go up head on against you, in that realm, all in. All chips, all in, let's go, let's see what happens. And best part is, if you lose, you get to keep a lesson.
Yeah.
You're smart.
Absolutely. So I think it's just, you know, and do we have discussion with our teams around competitive? I'm just using the word because you use it now, but I think it's a lot.
Important.
Are we talking about on the same page? Do we see, or how close are we on interpreting what competitive means to you and what does competitive mean to me? Are we this close together? Or are we that far apart? And it doesn't matter. If we're that far apart, then let's chat about it, because at Midmark, we need to get here. And if we can both come to here, sure, then we'll create high-performing teams.
Take over the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And there's no right or wrong. We need to have those discussions.
Yeah.
Tell me, when you get to a new client, what is the first step you take? Do you spend time with them?
Absolutely.
Do you sit with the whole management team? Do you make notes? Do you go into a presentation? What is your step when you get to them? I want to know more about that part.
Okay, I love your question. That time, call it session or sessions, which I'll explain to you, is the most important part of my whole coaching process.
I can imagine, because you get to know, but you've got a very short time frame. Suddenly get to know this person.
No, we don't.
How long do you spend with such a company?
Okay, so just coming on to, I have a short time frame. It's the reason I don't coach a program. I coach a journey, because it is a journey. And this is, so I'm not saying that, I'm not disrespecting or saying that programs are bad. It's my own journey that influenced me into why I show up like I do, and my view on leadership. Because there's millions of different views on leadership.
Lot of those,
and they're not right or wrong.
It's their own belief, their own personality, their own style.
For me to show up authentically as a leadership coach, I can only show up in terms of what informs me. And again, like Bobby was saying, if it's like my culture. And if we need to understand, I need to understand yours, and do you resonate with what I'm doing? I'm not here to sell leadership coaching to my clients. I tell them what I believe. If they resonate, we can go on this journey. Yes. It'll create the highest probability of us achieving what we want to. And so those initial sessions are extremely important. And if it takes 3 or 4 sessions to have absolute clarity of what is it you're wanting to achieve, that we need to be 100% clear. What is it you're wanting to achieve?
You need to understand it.
Absolutely. And then it's a journey. And we say, okay, let's now map this out. And how are we going to achieve this? And the other thing that I need in that session is also, this is what I want to achieve. How much do you want to achieve it? So I'll give you an example. And say on a scale of 1 to 10, generally leadership or people that I'm doing, they'll tell you either 10, sometimes even a 12 or 15. And then we'll have a chat are you 100% clear on what it takes to achieve what you want to? Yes, okay. Then I want to have another question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you prepared to do what it takes to achieve that?
Those are difficult questions.
And I learned that you know, I'm so privileged. I learned so much from my clients. I really do. I'm not the leadership guru. I work with clients who are a lot more business savvy than I am. I have understanding of business. I've had my own businesses, successful and not. The ones that were not, I learned more from than the ones that were.
Of course.
And so I think that it's about understanding what it takes. And I learned that from a client of mine who brought me in. And about 4 months into the coaching, because we weren't 100%, we didn't have 100% clarity of what it takes, is that he actually got me there to do the work that he was supposed to do, but didn't want to. So Steven came in as like the guy that's going to do his work. But I can't, that's not my role. I don't run your company. I can't make decisions for you when I'm working with your teams. So,
And that's maybe also a misunderstanding.
so I always say I'll walk a journey with you, not for you.
The understanding what it takes is where the confusion always comes in. So that's where it crashes poof down, because
We all want to be leaders. We all want to be managers. And I've seen it so many times in my life. I want to be this and I want to be that. And I want my own team and I want to run this company and I want to be head of this department. Do you know what it takes? It's like, yes, I know.
we're going through a process now. So we changed the salespeople's commission structure. And I publicly advertise it on the main group. This is the new commission structure. Puts a lot of pressure on Anna Marie and her team, because they say, well, we've studied, we have degrees, some of us have qualifications. RE exam is not a joke. Most highly qualified people write it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. These are people that have passed massive exams.
Thank you.
And there's a 21-year-old with pimples on his forehead that can barely read, just enough, but he's a servant. He's a good salesperson. And he serves customers and he knows how to extract information to be able to give you the best possible product for you and your family. He knows that because I've trained him to do that. And he earns twice as much as the person that's passed an RE exam. And they said, but it's not fair. I said, okay, that's fine. Let's process. Okay, do you see this manager here? We've got a tough manager that he works for, extremely tough. He's the type of manager I would work for. Standards are very high, non-negotiable, ever. Okay. Do you understand the pressure that he's in? Let me explain to you what the pressure is. These are the amount of calls that he makes. These are the amount of follow-ups that he has to make. This is the amount of no's that he has to get. This is the amount of explaining that you have to do to this guy 5, 6 times per hour sometimes. Okay, that's the pressure. Works at 6:45 until 8:30 at night. And so on and so on and so on. That's why they earn this money. Sure, you can go through the cadetship program. If you get selected, you can also earn the salary. You prepared to do that? No. Exactly. Managing expectations. So here's the outcome, but what is the input? And that's, as soon as there's a confusion about the input, crashes. I think the clarity there needs to be
100%.
Needs to be very, very, very crystal.
Yeah. So
It's communication, and it's normally your F&Is is on a different level because they work for commission and they understand it. But it's normally administrative people that would say, but is this fair? Is this open? They need us for the back.
Everybody's position is important.
It's important.
But everybody's
but you do
input.
sales.
Everybody's
It's
input
different.
is different. Yeah.
It's very different.
I love what you just said. Everybody's position is important.
Very, very important.
So
But the input, the amount of responsibility. So
I think the output
you're
from
touching
your
on something.
leader.
no, the responsibility. So I hold you responsible to a different level than I hold somebody else. And a branch manager,
definitely.
for me, when that door is closed, there's a different Bobby that comes out. It's not the same Bobby that's here today. I bring both of them to work. And the reason for that is, at that table, very comfortable being myself because it's the culture I've created. F-bomb comes out twice before 9 a.m., sometimes 20 times before 9 a.m. However, that pressure there to be able to create that amount of drive is different to a salesperson.
Yes.
to an F&I. I can't speak to an F&I the way I speak to a branch manager.
But I
They'll be
can.
all in tears. I can speak to you that way because we understand what it
Yes.
takes to drive the people that way, but not to an F&I. The
Luckily,
pressure is
they
different.
understand me.
Yeah, they understand you.
But generally, because, so I love what you just touched on. Okay, the role, the position, and within that position, there's a role and responsibility. And I think often it's not clear enough. So people confuse roles and responsibilities.
Very.
So my role as a leader, if I'm sitting in your position, I'm sitting at the top of the chain, we all leaders. Okay? We all in the team, and even the people that we're leading, there's no one position that's less or more important than the other.
No.
So any member of that team, their position is as important as your position, as the
100%.
owner of this company. So the position is not, because if either of you fail to execute in what that position requires, okay, you impact the team. So I know I've just about been shot down for this. Thank God I actually had this session on Zoom, but because I said that the CEO and the floor sweeper, their position
It's exactly the
is
same.
just as important,
But is
because
that pressure coming
So
from
where's-
that one and this
correct.
one?
and where's the difference in leadership? Responsibility. The level of responsibility is very different here to the CEO.
Mm.
That is the key difference. And if you cannot take on that, we all want to lead, and we all aspire to, and I think I have a firm belief that we all have the ability to lead. We don't all have the desire to lead others. And that's okay. But then you need to be brutally honest. Coming back to you, Bobby,
No,
what you
need
said.
to be honest about it.
So I want to grow and I want to be this leader. Okay. Do you know what it takes to be a leader?
Everyone wants to be.
And then are you prepared to do what it takes to be a leader? And how much do you want to be a leader? No, again, coming back to 15 out of 10. Do you understand not the role, the responsibility of leadership? And are you prepared to take that on? It's tough leadership.
Very tough.
No,
You're
it's
working with
tough.
people.
Love the topic, and we can go on for 5
Yeah.
hours. But just to wrap it up, do you understand the responsibility? Are you prepared to actually go and do what it takes? And how much do you want it? I really, 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 really have enjoyed this session.
Thank
You are
you.
definitely going to leave us better than you found us. Thank you for your time, sir. And I'm sure we'll see more of you in the coming future. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I leave you with one
Yes,
thing?
please.
Because I often give thought, and I'm often asked about the definition of leadership. And there are a million. I think the challenge would be to which one to go with and find it on the internet. But I have a simple definition that I'd like to share with you. Okay, leadership's responsible to those they lead, but not for them. That's it.
Like it. Responsible to those, but
for.
not for them. You have
It's a
to
team
meet me
sport.
halfway.
It's a team sport.
100%. I love it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Anna-Marie, for the privilege of being able to sit here and chat to you. I know it's
And
really been
thank you
awesome.
for sharing your knowledge with us. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Bobby will go on for hours. That's why we love him.
We could do that. I think I'll take you up on that one day. If
Thank
you
you
have
very
5
much.
hours, let's chat.
We will. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your valuable time, and I really, really hope we leave you better than we find you. If you did, please leave us a comment as well as the like button, and
please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell.
thank you very much. Take care and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.